With a body tool, you're going to grab these pins and just pull up on them. There's 2 of them. And you can grab this, just slide it right out of the gearbox. So we're going to take this side shroud down on the driver's side, 12mm socket. Got a body clip right here. Squeeze the tab, pull that out of the way. Then we have one more up here in the fender well. And now you can do the same thing to the other side. Now that the shroud is out of the way, you can see the actual drain plug for the radiator. Phillips screwdriver. Make sure you have a catch basin down below. And watch your eyes. So now we lower the car again, catch basin still under the radiator, and we're going to take this cap off and the coolant should really come out then. And there it goes. So while the radiator is draining, we're going to remove the brackets up here. This is the hood bracket, 10mm socket. Set that aside. 12mm nuts hold the radiator on with the little radiator support tabs. You can lift those right up, set them aside. Pair of pliers, I'm going to take the upper radiator hose clamp, take that right off. Also going to take it off the engine side to give us more room to pull that radiator. It's a bit corroded on there, it's very typical cars with age to them. So I'll just take my pick, try to break free the corrosion on that aluminum. Wow. I think we're going to replace that hose. So now we're going to take the lower radiator hose off. This is a 8mm socket for this clamp or a flat blade screwdriver. If you have an automatic transmission, you're going to need to remove the ATF lines right here. Just really squeeze the clamp, bring those down. I'm just going to lightly squeeze and pull, twist it. You don't want to tear the rubber. Make sure you have something below here because ATF fluid should come out. I'm going to get some rubber caps ready to put them on. Got a catch basin below, and here we go. There's one. There's two. I've got 2 rubber boots. I'm just going to put them right up. Down. This one. Now we're going to take the lower hose off of the thermostat housing. Be careful for coolant that probably should slip out a little bit. I'm also going to take the radiator hose off of the radiator side, the lower one. It's easier to work with. 8mm socket. Take that clamp, loosen it up. And make sure you got a catch bucket under this side of it. Disconnect the electrical connector for the driver's side fan. It's right here above the lower radiator hose. Pull down on that tab and pull the electrical piece out. There you go. Passenger side fan connector. So now you're ready to grab the whole assembly and lift it straight up. $10mm socket. Remove the heat shield. We're going to take the coolant reservoir off. Upper hose. You might need a flathead screwdriver, or see if you can pop that out. So with a flathead screwdriver, I'm just going to pop the ear there and then slide it out right there. Lift it up, set it aside. Now we can see all 2 mounting bolts on the top. That's going to be a 10mm socket. So I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver and see if I can, it's a square nut. Sometimes you can wedge it in when they're rotted like this. There you go. Then lift up. $10mm socket. See how it's a square nut and they get rusted. So I just take a flat blade, slide it in there, so when this spins, the plastic breaks, which is fine because we're replacing it anyways. Now with a pair of pliers, we're going to take these automatic transmission lines off. Clamps are pretty wasted, so I do plan on getting new ones. You just don't want to ever pinch the rubber and tear it, so you got to be really careful with this. So now I'm going to install the transmission lines again. I'm putting a new clamp on this end. The shorter line goes in the front. You'll feel it go right over that knob right here that holds the hose in place. And then I'm going to clamp it. And this one's a 1/4 inch. Lines up perfectly. The radiator already comes with the loaded flat lock nuts in there, so easy peasy. I'm going to take the passenger side fan, transfer it over, just put it right in those little prongs. The bolts line up. I'm going to do the same to the driver's side fan. Put these little pitons right in there. Top rests. Let's get this out of there. One, and the final one. Two. And that is the self-tapping screws that came with the shield. That's a 10mm socket. So now I'm going to replace all 4. This is a 6mm thread, and it looks like a 1 pitch if you need to replace them. Luckily the bolts were in good shape, it was just the nuts in the back that worked. 10mm socket. So now we're going to install the reservoir tank onto the radiator. So you have this little mounting hole and that little pin goes right in there. And then you're going to slide this in right around here. Just kind of push, then line that pinhole up right there. Push that in, just like that. So slide it in over here, push the pin in over there. Now we can put the overflow hose. So here's our radiator mounts. Make sure the rubber pieces are in there, and that's where those little pins on the bottom of the radiator, plastic, are going to slide right in. So you can lift up the whole assembly. Move it around. Sometimes you can fit your hand down there. See if you can get the pins in. There we go. And you can see that they're the same height, both sides. Let's grab our hardware mounts. Slide right on that. There's a 12mm socket. Let's not forget our hood prop rod tool. That's a little hook there. This is going to be a 10mm socket. So we have the passenger side electrical fan connector. You can see there's two little tabs on the lower part. Line them up with the fan harness until it clicks. There you go. Now we're going to install the upper radiator hose. I got a new one, like I said I wanted to, and I cleaned up that hose outlet that was all corroded. I'm going to put it on the radiator first. And I'll connect it down here on the actual hose outlet. Make sure you bottom it out on that little aluminum tab. My new hose clamps are 8mm. I'm just going to snug them up. Real like that, and then the upper hose clamp. I'm bottomed out right onto the radiator housing. I don't want it too far that way. I want to make sure the clamp is centered. So now we're going to hook up our transmission lines again from the radiator hoses to the actual body. I'm going to pull this cap off that I put on there, and then I can slide that hose right up over it. And now with a pair of pliers, I'm going to reuse the old clamps. Line them up as best as you can with the markings on the hoses so they sit in the same spot. And that way it makes a good connection and seal. There we go. We're going to hook up the cooling fan connector. I'll take down the fan one. I'm going to bring it right over here. Line up the tabs, and then slide it on until you hear it lock. Try not to pinch the wires. There we go. Now we're going to install the lower radiator hose. Make sure it's all the way up against that radiator. The same with the thermostat housing. You want that all the way seated. Okay, bring that clamp around. Now I'm going to hold it right in the center of the line of the hose and 8mm socket. Do the same with the thermostat housing area. Line that up right in the center. And then make sure you tighten up your radiator drain plug. Make sure it's snug. And now we can put our fender skirt back up in. There we go. So the bolt goes in this housing right here. And then I'm going to put the pinch pin clip in the actual fender well first to hold it up equally. And then this last push pin then we'll tighten that up. 12mm socket. Now that everything's all sealed up and ready to go, we're going to top off the coolant, or fill the radiator, shall I say. I have this funnel because it helps burp the system. So as it's idling and running, it will take the air and bring it up to the top and burp it so you don't make a mess. And it helps make sure your system is properly burped. That clears out all your air pockets, and you don't ever have to worry about it overheating or taking a long time to burp the system. Now I can hook up the negative cable. Make sure it's down all the way on that battery post, and a 10mm wrench or socket. Once the vehicle has reached full temperature and the bubbles have stopped, top off the fluid, put the radiator cap on, and you're clear to road test.